So at the bottom of the movement, create tension into the hands and shoulders. So I'm increasing the tension into the triceps, into the shoulders, decreasing the weight into the knees, push up through the concentric part of the movement into the handstand. So today's session, I'm going to take you through how to train the up only, and I'm going to cover lots of different bent arm movements. I mainly use this variation to teach the handstand push-up, but you could use it for any bent arm movement. Let's first go through something that everyone can do. So we'll do the push-up. Now, if you need to, you could do this on your knees, but I'm going to show it on the toes. So I've got no weight in my hands and shoulders now. I'm going to place the hands into the normal position for the push-up, so around chest position. I'm going to slightly externally rotate. I do that with all my strength movements. It makes you stronger having slight external rotation. Also growing a bed if you can, definitely helps with the strength. Okay, so from this position, I'm going to start to push into the floor, but I'm not going to move. So I'm just creating tension. So now I can feel my triceps, my shoulders, my chest all starting to contract, and then I'm just going to turn the abs and the butt on just enough so I don't arch through the low back, start to hover a little bit, and then push up all the way up into protraction. And that's the up movement done. So that's nice and simple to get your head around for the push-up move. Now let's do exactly the same, but this time for the dip. So I'm going to start in the bottom position. So at the moment I've got no tension in my hands. Now I'm going to start to load into that bottom position. So loading into the hands, the shoulders, the triceps. Toes have come off, so I'm in that hover position, and then push up into your support position. Now if we're only doing single reps, we could go very, very slow. So I could have a pause at the bottom, hover, push up slowly. So then the time under tension is around 10-15 seconds. I'd only need to do a couple of those to equal 30 seconds. Or I could do the up only movement, but with speed. So hold 1 to 2 seconds, push up, go back down again, same again. There to equal the 30-second goal, I'm going to have to do multiple repetitions. Now let's start to explore some of the harder variations. So if we go back to that crow up to handstand, now not everyone is going to be able to push all the way up into handstand. But what we can start to use is concentric only partial range. So basically we're just trying to get a float with the knees off the elbows. And even if you can't get some float, there's some benefit in just to contract as hard as you can in that position. Obviously you'd want to combine that training with eccentrics and easier variations so you can get the eccentric and the concentric together. So same again, external rotation, have the bed for extra strength. Head position can be changed to make the range of motion and the start position easier or harder. Okay, now the other thing that you need to start to think about in this position is balance. Here it's pretty simple to balance in this crow position, but when I get to here, now it's getting much harder to balance. So I want to have what's in front of the hands to match what's behind in terms of balance. So the weight and the height is also going to change that. So you've got to try and feel that on the fly and practice that position. So we could just do the partial range. So there, push up a little bit, as high as you can. Relax, come back down. Do that for repetitions. You could go up slow. So hold, pause, up, slow. Pause at the top. Show control. Come back out. Repeat, or you could go up faster. Now a very similar movement, going closer towards the handstand push-up, is to start in the headstand. Now with this one, obviously we have to be a little bit careful if you're on a hard surface in terms of how much weight you put in your head. So I'm going to start with weight in the head, probably about 50-50 in terms of weight in the head, weight in the hands, external rotation, bed. So about 50%. Now I'm going to increase the weight into the hands, hover, and then I could go up. Oh geez, ignore that one. So I lost balance then, so I came down. So let's do that again, see if I can hold the balance as I go and hold in that position. So 50%, more weight into the hands, hover, push up. Obviously this one's a little bit harder because it's a bigger range of motion. Show control, come back down again. Now if balance is a big issue here, you could have a spotter, you could use the wall in some way. I would prefer to use chest to wall position just because it keeps you in that body line position and doesn't arch you too much. If you start to go into an arch with these movements, you'll tend to collapse too much. Again, there we could just work the hover, so you could just come up into that position and then try and hover, hold this position. This one's a really good one if you want to start to get reps in handstand push-ups. To have that position where you change direction and have it strong is really important. It's like having the bottom of a squat but not being able to hold it. You just fall over every time. Your squats aren't going to be very good. Now, similar to the headstand, but we're going to do on a deficit handstand push-up. So the difference with this is the start position is not the head on the floor. You're 100% on your hands in that shoulder stand position. Now you can rest in a shoulder stand position, and if you're working these movements, you should have a strong shoulder stand. So if you don't, make sure you work on that and get conditioned and balanced in this position. So straight body there. Now as these are starting to get harder, you might want to externally rotate a little bit more, have the hands a little bit wider, and also grow a little bit longer beard. Same thing. So into that position, lots of tension into the shoulders and the arms. You could hold, do a partial range, hold, come back out. Or you could go all the way up. So there, tension, push. Show control at the top. Now, as you get towards the harder variations, you're not going to have so much options in terms of your repetitions, speed, tempo, things like that. Like that one, I've probably got like 1 or 2 gears I can go into in terms of tempo and speed. Not like a normal push-up where I could do 5 or 6 different tempos and speeds and play around with it. This one I have less options because it's getting closer towards my max. But again, if you can't do it, just do that partial range, just come up a little bit or just create lots of tension in that position and start getting super strong in the shoulder stand. Now P-bars work exactly the same as the IKEA steps or having a box. Now the big difference though is the P-bars are often fixed. Now if they're fixed and you have a set of P-bars at the park or something, they're often like this. They're like a massive gap between them. So you might find now that this is not a strong position for you. So having some that you can adjust and fit your body, even create a little bit of external rotation to turn them out slightly, will allow you to find your true potential on the P-bars. But exactly the same, get strong in that shoulder stand. There, you could do partial range hold, or just go all the way up. Then we can start to work like the concentric up of like a 90-degree handstand push-up. Now for this we need some sort of bent arm planche. Now you can play around with different leg positions to make it easier to bring it in closer, so bend the knees, frog the legs in some way, or you could try and go into a straight position. Again, more external rotation needed, a little bit more bend. Now with this one, I like to get into position like this, so I haven't got much weight at the moment into the hands and shoulders, but now when I come forwards, I load the elbows, shoulders, and then push up from there. Again, you can just work the static, so just going into that bent arm planche position like this. Just building time and control there will be really beneficial to work the 90-degree handstand push-up and then eventually the dead press. Exactly the same on the P-bars. Some people will find the P-bars a little bit easier because they can take their shoulders further forwards because it's not so hard on the wrists. I probably find these about the same, maybe a little bit harder because I'm not so used to it. Exactly the same on the floor, but you can't scoop the head quite so far below the hands. So this one you'll see my body arch up a little bit more, but the same thing, we want to go up in that bent arm planche position. There's a start position, tension. So a little bit more arch in the body on that one. Okay, then the big one, the dead press. Now this is very similar to the bent arm planche position, the one we just done, so the concentric of the 90-degree handstand push-up, but this one you have your chest on the floor, and ideally you won't have any weight in your hands and then you put the weight in the hands. I find it easier to create tension first, so it's very similar to the bent arm planche from that respect, as I can start in this position, create the tension, and then push up from there. Now you'll see I scoop up a lot through the legs on that one, so I definitely need to grow the bed a little bit longer so I can keep the body straight when I come up. And I'm now going to try one without putting the weight in the hands first, and you'll see I'm probably going to fail that. So ideally with this one we would just lay down on the floor so we have nothing in our hands and shoulders in terms of tension, place the hands down, then create the tension, and then push up. See, I've got nothing, I can't get into the sweet spot there to push out of it. But if I do it this way, turn the hat around because it got in the way last time. So create the tension first, build the tension up. Chest still down though. I can push out of it.
So if you're in the earlier stages of the handstand push-up work, I'd definitely check out this video, which will help you build in a bit of a routine to get that handstand push-up as quick as possible. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.